Nanabush punishes the raccoon. Retold and illustrated by Daphne Ojig Bevan. Nanabush punishes the raccoon. Nanabush, the spirit, was sometimes very bad, but other times he was very good. One of the very good things about Nanabush was his respect for old people. He liked them and knew that someday he would be old himself. He always did everything he could to make life better for the old people. There were two very old men in the village whom Nanabush visited each time he came home from his long trips. These men had been very good hunters when they were young and had provided most of the food for the village. But as they grew old, their eyesight became poor, and finally they were blind. Nanabush had built them a wigwam near the river and made a rope for them to follow to the water's edge. The old men were always able to get water for cooking and drinking by following the rope. Nanabush also kept them supplied with meat whenever possible, and the old men, in spite of being blind, lived a good life with his help. Very early one morning, the raccoon was walking along the edge of the river. "Oh dear, but I'm bored today," said the raccoon, yawning. "I wonder if I can get into some mischief if I try very hard." Then he noticed a rope leading from the bush to the water's edge. "Now where is that rope coming from?" wondered the raccoon. Suddenly, the rope started to move slightly. The raccoon dived behind a bush. Slowly, the two old blind men followed their rope to the edge of the river and filled up a pot with water. As soon as they had followed the rope back to their wigwam, the raccoon came out from behind the bush. "Oh, I think I'm going to have some fun," he said, chuckling to himself. Quickly and quietly, the raccoon lifted the rope from the water's edge and took it back into the bush. "Now all I have to do is wait for those old blind men to try to get some water." The raccoon waited a long time and was getting impatient. "Why don't those men come for water?" he grumbled. The sun was getting very hot, and finally one of the old men started following the rope to get another pot of water. When he arrived at the end of the rope, all he could find was grass. "Oh dear," said the old man, "the river has dried up. What on earth shall I do?" "Ha, ha, ha," laughed the raccoon, as the old man followed the rope back to the wigwam. The raccoon knew that the old man would tell his friend as soon as he reached the wigwam, so he quickly grabbed the rope and put the end back in the river. Soon both old men were following the rope again, talking and worrying about what had happened to the river. When they reached the end of the rope, it was back in the water where it was supposed to be. The first old man said, "What on earth is happening? Here is the water again." The second old man said, "I may be as blind as you, but I'm not a fool. You tricked me." And the two poor old men began to quarrel with each other. The raccoon laughed and laughed until his side hurt. I sure put one over on those old men. While the old men were still quarreling by the river, the raccoon ran up to their wigwam to see if he could get into more mischief. 4 pieces of meat were cooking over the fire. The raccoon grabbed 2 pieces and hid behind a table to eat. Soon the old men were too tired to quarrel about the water and were getting hungry. They followed the rope to their wigwam. One of the men reached into the bowl and took out his 2 pieces of meat. The other man reached into the bowl for his meat and found it empty. I'm getting tired of your tricks today, he shouted angrily. Why did you take my 2 pieces of meat? I didn't take your meat, replied the other. You are just trying to make trouble today. The raccoon was really enjoying the quarrel and decided to make it even more exciting. He quickly hit both men in the stomach. The men really started to fight each other then, for each thought the other had struck him. The raccoon laughed and laughed until tears came from his eyes. Suddenly, he stopped laughing, for Nanabush the spirit walked quickly into the wigwam. He had heard the fighting and shouting of his 2 old friends. The moment Nanabush saw the raccoon, he knew something was wrong. What have you been up to, Raccoon? Demanded Nanabush. Just visiting, answered the raccoon. Oh, I must leave now. Oh, no, you don't, Nanabush replied firmly, grabbing the raccoon hard by the neck. The 2 blind friends of Nanabush explained the strange things that had happened to them, and the frightened raccoon fearfully confessed how he had been playing tricks. So, you like to play tricks on old blind people, said Nanabush. I think I'll show you a trick or 2. Nanabush grabbed a large piece of charcoal. He then drew 8 black rings on the raccoon's tail to represent the meat the raccoon had stolen. 4 rings for each piece of meat. Because you were mean to these old blind men, I am going to make your eyes bad. You will not be able to stand the sunlight, said Nanabush. From now on, you must do all your hunting for food at night. And finally, you must wash your food before you eat it to remind you of the nasty trick you played. Nanabush then allowed the raccoon to escape. The raccoon never again played tricks on old people. Met you.